This movie's about a wealthy businessman, Edward Lewis, played by Richard Gere, who buys a rough-around-the-edges prostitute, Vivian Ward, played by JuliaRoberts, for $3,000 for the week while he's in town on business. I guess I was about 10 when I first saw this movie. I remember at that age thinking to myself, when I grow up, I'm going to have enough money to buy any woman I want. This movie gives all hoes hope that you can be a hoe, but one day you'll find a rich, handsome, refined, and cultured man who won't be bothered about your past and marry you as long as you have a goofy sense of humor and looks. Never thought she was all that special, aside from those great-looking legs. Julia Roberts has and always will be an ugly, ferret-faced actress. I don't get it why people think she's beautiful. She looks like a Muppet. Her mouth looks like a horse mouth. Now, this whole Cinderella story nonsense is just a thinly veiled excuse for some serious psychological dysfunction. These two are two peas in the same pod. One pea is a wealthy, entitled narcissist, and the other pea is a prostitute. A man rescues a woman from her miserable life. He's so charming. He must really love me. No, bitch. He just has a fat wallet and a pocket full of Viagra. Vivian is a renegade in the context of sex.
Marie, but she was a flake. She was a crackhead. Dominic was trying to straighten her out for months.
Operating independently without protection, guidance, or support. This makes her more vulnerable to exploitation, abuse, and other dangers. As a renegade, she sets her own rates, boundaries, and rules, which can be riskier, but also potentially more lucrative. Vivian makes several mistakes associated with sex work. She fails to establish clear boundaries with Edward, which blurs professional and personal lines, okay? Ho, never get emotionally invested in Edward. You want to know why, bitch? You want to know why? Now you're out here relying solely on Edward to financially support your stupid ass. Heidi Fleiss. Now there's a woman who knew how to run a tight ship. Vivian was a loose cannon navigating the treacherous waters of Hollywood prostitution without a life jacket. Now I'm not advocating for prostitution, but if one is going to engage in such activities, having a seasoned madame in their corner could be the difference between survival and disaster. Vivian. Who falls in love with their client? You really think you can make him love you for who you are? You have the emotional intelligence of a crack addict. You're falling for the old "I'll pay you to be my girlfriend" routine. You're begging to be exploited. Richard Gere's character is a trick in the movie. Here's my money. Here, take my money. Go shopping. And she goes to the store dressed like a prostitute. And the store's like, you can't come in here dressed like a prostitute. I mean, there are patrons and there are rules. Stores have signs. You must wear a shirt. No dogs. You must wear shoes. You can't just walk around having your labia hanging out. So this guy's a trick. And he comes along to save the day with his money. You know, because she's a poor girl, saying he's going to spend an obscene amount of money.
Really offensive.
Really offensive.
I like him so much.
But it doesn't look that obscene. Bitch has like what, 3, 4, 5 bags? Obscene. Obscene would be shutting down the motherfucking store and having mimosas and getting a mani-pedi from that same rude bitch who was a Tijuana to her. Now her revenge, by flaunting her newfound John's wealth and belittling the sales staff, perpetuates a cycle of disrespect and classism. Coupled with that, Vivian's actions reinforce the notion that wealth and material possession are the ultimate arbiters of worth, rather than inherent human dignity. Not surprised, failed to take the high road and embrace the back alleys she's accustomed to. Vivian, princess in this prostitute fairy tale, which is now featured on Disney streaming services, is reduced to a commodity herself, to be bought and sold. Her character development is entirely predicated on her transformation to suit Edward's desires. Now just for shits and gigs, let's counter-argument. It's a 90s movie and there's a romantic narrative. The film's central plot follows a traditional romantic arc, the couple overcoming obstacles to be together. My rebuttal...
I know what people are doing no matter what they say, because I read minds, you dig? I don't take no shit off of you. You're lying through your fucking teeth. I know it, you know it, and this fucking hoe know it.
Come on, leave him alone. Take care of you.
Is shut the fuck up. The romantic narrative is superficial. Or maybe I'm just jealous because I don't have a sugar mama to sweep me off my feet. Yeah, that's probably it. However, calling the movie's portrayal of their relationship a romantic fairy tale rather than exploitation, even if the movie tries to frame it as romantic, I can't go for that. Now, Prostitution exists, and people engage in it for various reasons. C'est la vie. In the real world, the ramifications of a professional, successful individual engaging in a relationship with a prostitute can be severe and far-reaching. Risk of contracting STDs is very high. Colleagues, clients, business associates could recognize the prostitute, which could lead to loss of business or even job termination. What about the social implications? Discovery by family, friends, or social circles can lead to embarrassment, shame, relationship damage, the whispers, the stares, the exclusion. Edward and Vivian will be pariahs, shunned by polite society. Public exposure can irreparably damage his reputation, leading to loss of business opportunities.
Here, $1.
Social ostracism. What about unwanted pregnancy? Can you imagine the awkwardness at the country club? Or worse, your children's school events? So how'd you two lovebirds meet? Well, I paid her for sex. And then I fell in love with her. This relationship is built on a foundation of secrecy and shame. They can't be open and honest about their origins, lest they face judgment and ostracism. And when the truth eventually comes to light, as it always does, the consequences will be devastating. Think of the children, their psyche, knowing their parents' relationship started with a transaction. The shame, the feelings of unworthiness. It's a legacy that will haunt them for generations. Relationships built on lies and secrecy are doomed from the start. Mark my words, this fairy tale will end in disaster. What about security risks? Prostitutes often deal in organized crime. Association can lead to security risks, blackmail, extortion. In the middle of the film, Edward and Vivian's relationship deepens, but their differences and the secrets they've kept from each other threaten to tear them apart. No longer a struggling prostitute on Hollywood Boulevard, Vivian Ward has no time for her friendship with Kit DeLuca, played by this
Marie,
bitch
but she was a flake. She was a crackhead. Dominic was trying to straighten her out for months.
played by this bitch from some other thing. Pretty sure she was in that I remember her from. Vivian even meets Edward's business associates and navigates high society events. Edward's friends and his colleagues are equally culpable in this charade. Not a single one of them has the decency to whisper, "Edward, old chap, perhaps parading a prostitute at our gathering isn't the most tasteful decision."
Do you really believe I would have a nigger run our family business, Randolph?
Of course
Nope.
not. Neither would I.
They're more concerned with maintaining their own status and access to Edward's wealth than basic human decency. Stucky, the character played by Jason Alexander, tries to make a move and touches Vivian's boob, and then Richard Gere's character punches him in the face. Vivian confronts Edward about the treatment and his intentions. Edward realizes his true feelings for Vivian and makes a grand gesture to win her back. The film ends with Edward and Vivian reunited, with Edward climbing up the fire escape to be with Vivian, symbolizing his willingness to meet her on her level. The film's ending doesn't necessarily guarantee a happily ever after. It's possible that Edward's behavior is a deeply ingrained pattern, and he'll likely continue to pay for sex. It's unlikely that Edward would suddenly change his ways, especially without any meaningful self-reflection or accountability. The power dynamics at play create an environment where Vivian is trapped and or obligated to stay no matter what.
You know those? What?